Here's a question that should terrify you. If every country on Earth owes money, who exactly gets paid? The United States owes $38 trillion. Japan owes $9 trillion. China, Germany, France, all drowning in debt. But here's the paradox. If everyone owes money, who's the creditor? Who's waiting at the end of the line with their hand out? The answer? It's going to change everything you think you know about money. You were taught that debt is simple. Someone borrows, someone lends, eventually someone pays it back. That made sense when your neighbor loaned you sugar. It made sense when banks had actual vaults. But that's not how the modern world works. Not even close. Today, the entire global economy runs on a system where debt is never meant to be repaid. Not sometimes, not eventually, never. And the craziest part? That's not a bug, that's the feature. The whole system depends on it. England, 1694. The country is at war with France. Again, the king has a problem. He's run out of gold. Wars are expensive. Soldiers need to be paid. Ships need to be built. But the royal treasury? Empty. So the king does something radical. He makes a deal with wealthy merchants. Here's the offer. Loan me money now, and I'll pay you interest. Forever. Backed by future taxes. The merchants agree. Why? Because they're getting something revolutionary. A promise from the government. A promise that can be traded, bought, sold. To manage this, they create the Bank of England. And just like that, the modern debt machine is born. Think about what just happened. The government can now spend money it doesn't have. Money that doesn't exist yet. Money from the future. This was the birth of the government bond. The seed that grew into the $315 trillion monster we have today. France saw it, copied it. The United States adopted it to fund their revolution. Then everything else. National debt stopped being a mark of shame. It became a measure of power. The battlefield became the balance sheet. Fast forward 330 years. That system is metastasized. Total global debt, $315 trillion, nearly 3 times the entire world economy. But here's where it gets weird. Let's follow the money. Start with the US and its $38 trillion debt. Who owns it? You'd think it's China, right? That's what everyone says. Wrong. China holds about $800 billion. That sounds like a lot. Until you realize that's only 2% of the total. 2%. Japan actually holds more, about $1 trillion. Then the UK, Luxembourg, Belgium. But foreign countries combined, they only hold about $9 trillion, less than a quarter. So where's the rest? Here's where your brain starts to hurt. Americans owe most of the debt to Americans. Banks, pension funds, mutual funds, the Federal Reserve itself. The Fed buys US government bonds and creates new dollars out of thin air to pay for them. So the Treasury issues bonds. Banks buy them. The Fed buys them from the banks. Americans pay taxes to fund interest. And that interest flows into Americans' retirement accounts. It's a circle, a closed loop. The debt is real. But the creditor is mostly a reflection of the same system. And this isn't just America. This is everywhere. Japan lends to the US. The US lends to Europe. Europe lends to developing nations. Those nations lend back to advanced economies. It's a planetary game of hot potato. Except the potato is made entirely of promises. Every country holds someone else's IOU. Every promise secured by another promise. Imagine a poker table where every player borrowed chips from the person next to them. Nobody has real money, just debt backed by more debt. And the only rule keeping the game alive? Nobody stands up from the table. Now you might be thinking, okay, but somebody has to be at the top. Somebody real. You're right, there is a top. But when you see who it is, everything changes. Behind every government bond sits a web of institutions. Hedge funds, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, central banks, managing tens of trillions in assets. These are the real creditors. They decide which nations can borrow cheaply and which will pay a premium just to survive. When they lose confidence, currencies collapse, governments fall, democracy decides who governs? Maybe, but markets decide who survives. And the ultimate market maker? The central bank, the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, the Bank of Japan. These aren't just banks, they're money printers. Every time the Fed buys government bonds, it doesn't use money it already has. It creates new money, types numbers into a computer. That's it. Every dollar in your wallet represents a unit of debt somewhere else. There's no such thing as debt-free money. Every coin, every bill, every digital dollar has an invisible IOU engraved on it. Here's the secret they don't tell you. Money is debt. They're the same thing. When you hold a dollar, you're holding a promise from the government. When a government issues a bond, it's creating a promise to pay dollars. But those dollars are just promises backed by bonds, which are promises backed by dollars. It's a snake eating its own tail, and as long as everyone believes in it, it works perfectly. But what happens when belief cracks? Greece, 2010. The government's debt becomes unpayable. Bondholders panic. Yields spike. Nobody wants to lend anymore. The European Central Bank steps in, but their rescue comes with conditions. Brutal conditions: austerity, tax hikes, spending cuts, pensions slashed, mass unemployment. Suddenly, the invisible creditors became very visible. The IMF, the rating agencies, the anonymous bondholders holding an entire nation by the throat. Argentina? They've defaulted 9 times. 9. Each time, the country gets restructured. New loans replace old ones. The machine resets. Sri Lanka, 2022. Fuel shortages, food shortages, political collapse, riots. Lebanon, 2019. Banks freeze deposits. The currency loses 90% of its value. Savings become worthless. These weren't accidents. They were the system working exactly as designed. Because here's the truth. In the 21st century, debt isn't designed to be repaid. It's designed to be rolled over. When you or I take a loan, we're expected to repay it. Principal and interest. Done. But governments? They operate differently. They treat debt like a subscription service, issuing new bonds to pay off old ones, refinancing forever. The United States will never pay off its $38 trillion debt. Not now. Not ever. That's not conspiracy. That's policy. Japan's debt exceeds 250% of its GDP. And yet, their bond yields stay near zero. Why? Because investors aren't waiting to be repaid. They're waiting to renew the deal. Government debt isn't a liability anymore. It's the safest asset in existence. Pension funds hold it. Banks use it as collateral. Central banks treat it as money. The system depends on governments never paying off their debt. Think about it. If Washington somehow paid down every dollar, what would happen? Banks would lose their most stable asset. The dollar supply would shrink, deflation, collapse. Paying off the debt would destroy the economy. So governments do the opposite. They keep issuing more, not recklessly, rhythmically. The debt becomes the heartbeat of capitalism itself. So when politicians promise to balance the budget, they're selling an illusion. The goal was never to eliminate debt. The goal is to keep it sustainable, serviceable, believable. Because once belief fades, the numbers stop mattering. Confidence collapses. Interest rates spike. The economy grinds to a halt. That's the real secret. The plan was never to pay it back. The plan is to keep the world believing it will. But here's the uncomfortable part. When we say we owe it to ourselves, that's only half true. Interest payments don't flow equally. They flow upward. From taxpayers to institutions and investors who hold the debt. Debt isn't just a transfer between countries. It's a transfer between classes. You pay taxes. Those taxes fund interest on bonds. Those bonds are held by banks and wealthy investors. Your tax dollars flow into their portfolios. That's why global inequality and global debt rise together. The system rewards those who own debt and punishes those who merely pay it. So who is the creditor at the top of this $315 trillion pyramid? It's not China. It's not Wall Street. It's not the IMF. It's all of them. And it's us. The modern financial system has turned debt itself into money. Governments issue it. Banks multiply it. Investors trade it. Citizens depend on it. The line between debtor and creditor has blurred beyond recognition. You're both. Your retirement account holds government bonds. Your taxes pay interest on those bonds. You're lending to yourself while paying yourself back, with money created from more debt. It's a hall of mirrors. Debt used to mean bondage, chains. Someone owned you. Today, debt means balance. It's the glue holding everything together. But if that balance ever tips, if confidence breaks, the illusion ends, and we'll remember what debt really is. A promise that cannot be kept forever. This system has worked for 330 years. It survived wars, depressions, pandemics, revolutions. But it's never operated at this scale before. $315 trillion is 3 times the global economy. And the whole thing runs on one assumption. That confidence will hold. That investors will keep believing. That nobody stands up from the poker table. But confidence is fragile. Rome debased its currency until collapse. Weimar printed until money became wallpaper. 2008 nearly broke the entire global banking system. Each time, people thought the system was too big to fail. They were wrong. So here's the real question. Not who's the creditor, but what happens when the creditor loses faith? That's the moment when debt stops being abstract and starts being existential. I don't know when that moment comes. Nobody does. But history suggests it's not if, it's when. If this changed how you see money, hit subscribe. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.